Okey doke. That's more than last month. Some copies of the agenda. I did. Yeah. Okay. It's weird that it shows this, but it shows. It's weird. In the camera, it shows that. On the camera, maybe it hasn't been that all. Oh. No.
Jerry, do you need? I've got extras. Do you? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Maybe it has something to do with that co-host. I'm not sure that one's.
I'd like to call to order this August 25th, 2025 State Planning Commission meeting. Welcome you all here tonight. I was remiss last month in not introducing our new member of the Planning Commission. So I do want to do that and say thank you for volunteering to Steve Baldwin, who is now a member of the State Planning Commission. So we have a complete commission with 5 members at this time. So tonight we have a couple of administrative things to take care of really quick. We have some back minutes that need to get approved, so bear with me as we rush through this part and get to the meat of the commission's hearing. So for tonight, we need to approve the minutes from November 25th. That would be Amy, Pete, and myself, because we're the only 3 commissioners that were here at that time. So do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're in approval of the minutes from the January 27 meeting, which was Amy, Pete, and I. So do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, for approval of the minutes from May 27, 2025, which was Melissa, myself, and me. Yep, it was. So do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, for last month's minutes, which we were all here except Amy. Are there any input on the minutes from last month? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's done. Easiest part of the meeting tonight. All right, so Starting off tonight, I have a script that I need to read through to make sure that all the legal issues are addressed and everyone understands the context of the meeting. So I will start with that now. Good evening. My name is Larry McKinley. I'm the chair for the State Planning Commission, and I will be presiding over this continued hearing. This is the time and place set forth for the continued public hearing in the matter of land use file number 11-07/24, an application for conceptual master plan, development plan to subdivide 1601 Oriole Street, a 7.11 acre property in low density residential zone into 22 single family lots. This hearing is now continuing. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those tenants that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.797 Volate 5 is printed and available at the back counter. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on this statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing. The Planning Commission's rules of procedure for land use public hearings and a handout written to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would like to ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was sent in this case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of this body to hear this case. Hearing none. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest, ex parte contact, or bias by any members of this body? I only need to declare that I know Bill Martinek through State Roadrunners. We've never discussed this land use file, and I believe that I can be unbiased in discussion of this hearing. We are now ready for the continuation of the hearing. Staff report.
So our public hearing started in July at the last planning commission meeting, and it was to develop 22 single family lots and one parcel that would be the stormwater detention area. This is for a conceptual master plan development, since anytime there's a wetland on the property, it requires a master plan development rather than a conventional subdivision. There are 4 criteria that has to be met to approve this conceptual plan. They are all relevant provisions of the comprehensive plan are met. The proposed master plan development is reasonably compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Special features or geographic conditions or objectives of development which warrant a departure from the standard ordinance requirements. And for if the proposed uses are not allowed in the underlying zone, these uses shall be compatible with the proposed development. I had written a draft order of denial, saying that there were 2 issues at hand. One was that some of the lots were much smaller than what is normally in a low density residential development. And I thought that being reasonably compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, that there would be an issue with that maybe there should be some more phased development, that the parcels adjacent to the other phase 1 and phase 2 be more similar, and then maybe transition to a smaller lot size. And then the other issue was stormwater, the stormwater parcel that there were. Okay, so what else is required is that 25% of the space be open space. And I said we weren't sure if we know that the stormwater drainage area was going to be eventually given to the city. but, so I had said that that could not be used for open space. The applicant wanted to talk with the city and Public Works about that issue. And we all met on, I believe, the 11th of July. And we did come, we had the city attorney at that meeting, and the Public Works Director and myself and the applicant's attorney, and we did agree that the stormwater detention area could be used for that 25%. And so I asked that they come and revise their plan or come with arguments, and that we would be supportive. And there was an email written by Public Works Director saying that he would be okay with the 25%, that being considered open space. I did not get anything from the applicant. I requested something on Monday, hoping to get it to you, but I didn't get it until this morning. So I did not have a chance to review what they submitted. So that's where we are. So I don't know what they provided. I'm just getting it now.
Thank you. All right, so it's time for the applicant's presentation. Just know that this is all new information to us at this time also, so please bear with us as we walk through this presentation. State your full name and address, so for the record.
Yes. Picking up. Thank you. Yes, for the record, my name is Alan Sorem. That's S-O-R-E-M. I'm the attorney. My office is 250 Church Street, Southeast Salem, Oregon. With me is Mark Rentz, a multi-tech. Mark is a civil engineer. And we're going to go ahead and kind of walk you through everything we have. I don't have anywhere else to be tonight. I know we don't want to be here all night, but you know, there was kind of a big ask last month. We were provided a report by AKS Engineering that had done a preliminary overview of all of the completeness criteria, the criteria for this concept plan, and even kind of looking forward into the future as to what might need to be in the master plan. So we've responded to everything. As Jennifer indicated, we had an interim meeting with city staff. In a perfect world, you know, we could have gone this 10 days ago, but it didn't work out that way given all of everybody's existing workloads. So we're very happy to kind of walk through all the issues. I think I'll start off tonight similarly to what Jennifer did. I won't belabor too much, but there's three particular issues that were identified in the staff report from last month in the preliminary order of denial. I'd like to spend a little bit of time on each of those issues, just so it's real clear that all of those have been addressed. Then Mr. Grenz can kind of walk through each of the sheets that you have in front of you, explain what you're looking at, you know, what changes, if any, were made, and why we did that. One just real kind of threshold thing is just want to make sure, you know, this is a concept plan request. So as the planner Siciliano identified, we have wetlands on the property, so we're not allowed to do any type of land division without going through this program for the city. And as part of that, you know, it's a two-step process. So if this is, and we will be asking that be approved without conditions. We hope you'll do so. But that doesn't mean there won't be other steps. We'll have to come back, do another application for a detailed design review and tentative plat. So this is in some ways an application to make an application. And I think that's important to spend time on thinking about, because it goes to the level of evidence that we need. And what Mark has been able to prepare is essentially, you know, construction level drawing. So while, you know, it took a little bit of time to get that, we feel that was time well spent, and we're actually ahead of the game in a lot of things. And there's a lot of detail that's available. So there really won't be too many guesses as to how this is going to look like when it's all said and done. But when we're making the decision tonight, we have to base it on the criteria at hand, and that is just related to a concept level plan. So there were a couple of issues. I should identify for the record what I handed out. So the first thing I'll note was a letter by Barry Buchanan from the city of Stayton to Mark is dated Monday, August 11th. And that was the letter that Jennifer kind of was summarizing, where it previously, the city staff had an internal question about whether or not if the open space is dedicated by the applicant to the city, is it still part of the PUD for purposes of open space calculation? And we all met and agreed, yeah, it still remains open space for determining of that 25% formula. It doesn't become part of the city's park system or something else where it's no longer part of the overall development. It's identified its concept plan as open space, and even though one day it may be dedicated, that does not take away that characterization for doing the open space calculation. So that Mr. Buchanan was kind enough to write that letter, and we have that in the record. The second document, I think, is just a large packet of sheets from Multi-Tech Engineering, and those have also been emailed to staff. I just knew we were emailing them same day. Didn't want to overburden staff with the trying to get those to you and print those out. So those are copies of those. The last two documents is a written statement by myself. That's the one with the color photo of the property on site that summarizes all of the approval criteria and all the evidence that we think goes towards satisfying the criterion. The last is a document. It's a copy of a plat from a subdivision that some of the planning commissioners may know, either from their duties as being here on the planning commission or just as members of the community. It's the Wildlife Meadows PUD. And I'll talk about it more in a little bit when I get into criteria, but I just wanted to make it clear for purposes of the record that those are all the documents that are handed out to each of the commissioners and one to staff. They've been previously emailed to staff as well for inclusion into the record. So the second issue that I just want to touch upon in the staff report, more than the order, the draft order, I think that the phrasing that the planner used was there was a question, not necessarily a hard no, you can't go forward, but there's a question about to what extent is the arbitration award that was created about 10 years ago relating the construction of the prior phases, does that have an impact on the city's weighing of the criteria, or can the city move forward in that application? And pretty quickly, I think everybody with the staff understood, no, we don't really think that's a question or an issue anymore. So I've got some of my written comments talking about that, but I haven't heard from staff in a while that was a concern. So I don't think that continues to be so. That was pretty clearly their position when we met last month. That is no longer a concern of theirs. So the last issue that was touched upon in the draft order and staff report was the reasonable compatible with the neighborhood. And that's where the Wildlife Meadows application goes in. So I will probably just quickly identify the 4 approval criteria and summarize for you, why we believe all of the criteria have been satisfied. Some of these I'll spend just a brief amount of time because they're not really in question by staff, but they're all the approval criteria, so I think it's worthwhile addressing. The first criterion is that all relevant provisions of the comprehensive plan are met. In staff's original staff report, they did identify the master plan goals and noted that this does follow the applicable master plan processes, and that criterion was satisfied. In the one of the attachments to the original application of the staff report is the applicant's narrative, where they go through the housing goals and a number of other comprehensive plan policies that further explain how this proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan as a whole. So if there were any questions related to that, we're happy to hear you out and respond to what they would be. But that's not really a criterion that has been at issue in up to this point. The second one is the proposed master plan will be reasonably compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. As Jennifer indicated, that one was subject to some questions from neighbors and comments from staff, where they spoken about, well, maybe there should be some different sizes, larger sizes against the undeveloped abutting parcels. Our feedback on that, I mean, we appreciate the question, but I think, if you look at the text of the criterion and all the evidence in the record, I think we do satisfy the evidence. So the question is it compatible with the surrounding neighborhood? So we're looking more than just Phillips Estates. We're looking, at all of the properties. And if you take into consideration the properties immediately to the west, that is zone light industrial. There's an RV repair facility. To the southwest is medium density residential zoning. There's a manufactured home park in that area with where the housing is quite dense. And so all of those uses are buffered from the more impactful uses. They're buffered by the very large open space that we have. And then we transition into our lots, which are on average approximately 6,300 square feet. So we're asking for, about a 22% reduction of the standard, which we think is very appropriate in this type of application. Is not a significant change. The uses are identical. They're all single-family residential uses. There was a comment about, well, the lots on Phillips Estate 2 along Pheasant Avenue will not be identical in their alignment. So that means you may have a backyard where on one side is 2 lots and the other side is just 1. But I would say that type of alignment is very commonplace throughout the community. It actually, I mean, it's true in every instance where the lots aren't exactly the same, widths in the backyard. But just having 1 or 2 neighbors behind you, whether it's 1 or 2, there's no natural loss of privacy. There isn't anything that would stop or significantly impact the abutting property owners. So when we're asking the question, is it reasonably compatible? It doesn't have to be identical, but it is reasonably compatible, especially when you're taking a broader context of that you have, much more impactful uses farther to the west. We have a buffering with the open space, and then this consistent same use within the property, albeit with a 22% deviation on average from the standard. So with all of those factors going into it, we think we do satisfy that criterion. And the wildlife meadows was an example. So that's this subdivision application, and they're all, these are land use applications. It's sometimes difficult to compare, but I think it is a relevant point. This is what is generally known as a pretty successful project in the city of Stayton. Nice new homes in a similar area, and you see houses with lots that are, I believe, 8,000 to 9,000 square feet in size, immediately across the street from brand new lots that are 44,000 square feet, 44,000. Yeah, 4,400. Yeah, sorry, I misspoke, and my eyes are not what they used to be with this tiny font. So just as a context, because that's what the city has taken into account. And I would know that the city would want to try to make its applications as consistent as it reasonably can. So and if you were to adopt the finding that going to, having some lots as low as approximately 6,000 square feet in this application just wasn't reasonably compatible, I think you'd have to take into account, well, how is it that we approved the prior one, but we can't do it in this one? What is so different about that? The last thing I'll note is all the lots on Pheasant Avenue that are immediately east of the property, I mean, those are not developed. So there isn't going to be an instance where you're going to have someone that says, hey, I bought that. This is my dream home. It was my dream home to have an identical mirror back lot line up, and now that's been changed. Those haven't been developed, and so I think we are starting from a blank slate there, and not that that's I think the earlier factors are more probative, but I do know that that sometimes can be an issue, is if you don't want someone to feel that they've been directly harmed by anything that you do, and there isn't anybody that has owned those lots as individuals yet. So all of those go into that second criterion and the third issue that Jennifer identified. The third criterion, are there special physical or geographic conditions or objectives of a development which would warrant a departure from the standard or ordinance? That's subsection C. And it's pretty clearly in this application, yeah, we definitely do have a natural feature that requires as a special physical and geographic condition, that is the large wetlands that requires, not just doing a straight subdivision and infill. I mean, technically you can go fill in wetlands, but that would not be the city's preference in this instance, because those wetlands are serving stormwater facility purposes. So there's a public benefit that is given to the city by improving the overall drainage of the area rather than filling that in. So that's kind of the bargain, the tit for tat or quid pro quo. The city is benefited by increasing the amount of overall open space, increasing the performance of the natural stormwater drainage system, and in exchange, it justifies a departure from the standard of ordinance. I would note that there's no, in the text of it, it doesn't say to the degree of the departure. You're not necessarily weighing some kind of ratio of how many square footage, gets a deviation. At this concept level, that's not part of the evaluation. The last one staff noted was satisfied. That is, there's no uses that are not allowed in the underlying zone. Uses will be compatible with proposed development. So as part of this PUD, we're not proposing any mixed use things of that nature, or whatever. So it's not really applicable, or it's at least satisfied, and staff and the applicant are on the same page with that. So I think there's a lot of material, a lot of information, but in reality, there's just 4 criteria that I just walked through. So if all that makes sense, I think you can confidently vote in favor and approval of that application. So Mr. Grenz is here. He can go over these sheets as well, because I know these pictures help put these concepts into motion. And I'll let him walk you through what we submitted and what changed, if anything.
Good evening. My name is Mark Grenz, and I'm with Multi-Tech Engineering. Alan is correct. So last time there was some concern on the part of staff that the information they provided was not sufficient to demonstrate to the planning commission, to others, that we were or would be able to meet all of the criteria ultimately to develop this property that's proposed. So what we've provided to you tonight is a packet. It has 23 drawing sheets in it, counting the cover page. These are basically now detailed enough that they're not very far away from the construction plans that could be submitted. We prepared this and sent this way so that there wouldn't be any question that the utilities that we have here, that we need to extend, can in fact water system can be built and designed and built in accordance with your standards. The lots can be graded. One of the issues that came up before was regarding the well, was regarding that we didn't have a site plan that had adequate, that appeared to have enough adequate information to demonstrate what the existing right of ways and things were. So you'll find that it's on the sheet 102, which is the second sheet. We've provided an aerial that provides what I want to call an existing conditions plans that demonstrates what all the development or what the land uses are around us and all the structures that are around us. So our property's been identified, boundary outlined, and you can see more than 300 feet all the way around it. You can see what's there. That's one of the criteria that ATS had pointed out that needed to be there. The third sheet, 103, is just a more detailed existing conditions plan. It shows all the topography. It shows all the existing improvements that are around us, and so that you can see what's there. Then sheet 104 is really the important part for this application. It shows the lots, their number, their size, their dimensions. It shows the dimensions of all the proposed rights of way that we're creating, the walkways. It shows the open space on there, the size of the open space that's being provided. Then we're gonna jump down to sheet 407 and that's the actual open space plan that we prepared. Not that it's not as required to provide an open space plan, but we felt that because there was some concern about that before. So this open space plan is an enlargement of that open space area. We denote on there that we're providing an open space that has 108,351 square feet. That's approximately 35% of the total development site. Your criteria sets out that we need to provide a minimum of 25%, so we're in excess of that. The criteria also states that of that open space, a minimum of 10% of it needs to be set up and identified as usable open space. So you'll see on that drawing there next to the subdivision lots, there's kind of a different hatch in there. That's our usable as open space. There's 14,251 square feet of usable open space that we've identified here. That's 13.15% of the total open space being provided as usable, so it exceeds the 10% minimum that's required. We've identified what types of amenities that we propose to provide in that usable open space. There's a walkway, 5-foot concrete walkway that runs between the two streets in a north-south direction and connects them. Along there, we're proposing a couple of picnic tables and some benches and some lawn area that would be set in there that would provide us, so that's to create the usable element to that facility. We provided a grading plan. Sheets. 406 is a detailed grading plan for the site. It shows how the lots will be graded. You see how they're going to be set up to slope and set and match it to the street design set of there, so that everything fits together and there'll be 12 lots, and then we're not impeding anything in the open space, and yet all the water, all the surface runoff from this go to our storm drain system and be outlet into this stormwater facility as proposed. Now, the stormwater facility is existing. It was constructed as part of the earlier phases. There was some improvements that have been made to it over the course of back in about 2016 to the control structure. It's a concrete weir. We did some modifications to that. Mr. Marlek, developer, did back then in order to make sure that it met with the criteria that we had worked out with your Public Works Department back then. And then we're actively working with Public Works and getting ready to construct the outlet, the final outlet for this that's headed in the northern direction to take the water to Oak Creek. So So that's the documents that we put together here. There's a lot of information here, but primarily what we wanted to do was make sure that it was clear to staff and to planning commission that we spent the time to make sure that what we're proposing we can do, that we can service all those lots, that they can be created in the standard and the quality that the previous village estates project has been created to, that there aren't any major elements that we haven't looked at just to make sure that we can accomplish the goal. So as Alan indicated for his part, we're here to answer any questions if you might have any of them, but I'm pretty sure that you'd agree that the information we provided here is much greater than is necessary for the conceptual master plan approval. In fact, I won't have to do very much for the detailed plan part of this unless there's something that surfaces that we're not aware of. So thank you for listening to my part.
So, you done with your part of the presentation?
Yeah, we're done. We're happy to answer any questions that whether staff may have or the planning commissioners. If you don't, we can just, we'll request a rebuttal. I know there's a couple individuals here. I don't know if there's anybody that signed up to testify as well. And what I can do is I'll just leave at the table here. There's one more extra copy. I don't have one handed out to each and every individual person, but if they want to look at it, I'll be happy to leave it here on this table.
All right. So just from a general statement from myself, it's not a question of you exactly, but when you go to wildlife meadows and you look at them, they are very small lots, but all those abut the middle school grounds. So there are no residences behind those homes, just a general comment, all right? And so they're separated by a street from all the other lots that are inside that subdivision. So that's kind of how I think that was laid out. I wasn't part of the commission when those were approved, but that's the way I see it from here. Any other commissioners? Lots.
Thank you. I have a couple of quick questions. Is this a retaining wall behind lots 1 through 7? A proposed retaining wall?
I'll wait for Mark to get up here, but
No, there's not a retaining wall. It's set up if you
I'm just wondering what that is that I'm seeing behind lots 1 through
It's
7.
like a walkway.
there's a walkway, the sidewalk. That's a 5-foot concrete walkway back there. And then you're seeing, if you look at the.
I'm on 104 right now.
407. More details. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go to.
Okay.
You can go to 406 and you can get a better picture, more close-up view of that. And if you look at the open space plan that we put together, which is 407, then you'll see that it's labeled as a 5-foot concrete block.
Okay. So fences could be right up against that sidewalk?
Sure.
Okay. And is all of that gonna be graded level before?
It will be, yes.
Okay, and then without my having looked to see if I could answer this question myself, because I didn't have enough time to look ahead, are you, with the stormwater that you're saying, are you saying that stormwater from, let's say, lots 1 through 7 would be routed up and back down, or would there be?
The lots are sloping back towards the open space.
Uh-huh.
However, the hard surfaces, the roofs and that stuff will all be picked up by roof drains and taken to the drainage system in the street and be routed back around to an outlet through there's an existing storm drain system in Junco Street that's already there that
Okay.
outlets into the water quality facility. There's also an existing storm drain system that's been built in Oriole Street. Goes a certain distance and then it stops. There's an open ditch out there. We're going to put a pipe where that open ditch is. Then it ties into a system coming out of Quail Run that dumps in there. So it will all be hard pipe into an outlet into the water quality.
Okay, Thank you.
The open space plan here, on the open space plan, once this is constructed, does this portion gets deeded over to the city and this becomes part of our maintenance?
It will, not just because of Phillips Estates 3, this application, but because of the requirements for the subdivision 2 and 1. 1 and 2 requires that this eventually becomes city-owned, this stormwater drainage. Mhm.
You know, I'm seeing lawns here, and I'm assuming there's gonna be sprinklers with water and mowing and stuff like that. So at what point, who takes care of it when, and when does it convert?
So
This
that,
whole process.
I mean, that's probably something that's gonna get addressed in the detailed design review. We did get, early feedback from staff because of maintenance concerns. We were like, well, you want a playground, you want a park, and they're considered more active things. So we do need to have 10% of usable space, but we did it in the least maintenance way possible. Is exactly, the anticipation is that it's going to be dedicated and it will be a city property maintained by the city, but that will become a criterion and a condition of approval at the next round when we do the master plan application. But our ears are always open, so we don't mind those questions or those concerns, feedback.
Right. And I think the point of clarification is that these drawings are well beyond a conceptual plan, that they're going into the actual design plan. So that, as he said, that gets discussed later down the road.
And we are hoping to file that detailed design application, as soon as possible. So we welcome that, but as Chair said, I am trying to speak both to the criteria tonight and then give you a good heads up as to what we'll be applying for, so that we're using good use of everybody's time.
Questions?
Yes, page 407, lots 4 and 5, you have a 14-foot difference between height in the front and the back. And that's a lot of difference in the middle of a lot, when all the rest of the lots in that subdivision are relatively flat.
Yeah, I think you might be misinterpreting there's existing contours that are shown under there that are small hatched. And that's because there's a stockpile material there.
Okay.
That's all being removed. If you look, you'll see the darker, longer hatched lines that run parallel to the street. So you'll see that that we have a 430 out
Okay.
street, then 431, and 431, and then 430 in the back. So that's pretty level.
So you're gonna level all that out
Yeah,
there?
we're gonna take that material out of that stockpile. We're gonna use it to grade other areas of the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
How long is this stretch of sidewalk?
About 360 feet. Maybe that's probably longer than that. I might be getting a little.
Yeah, I didn't have time to try to scale it off there.
600.
I can tell her real quick. It's 7 times 60. So it's 420. Yeah, I got smart help on it. 420.
Other questions?
I have one more on sheet 103. In the, on the, essentially the left, just the left of center, there are a couple of items that you've noted to be removed, but it's hard to see what they actually are. Can you tell me what those are?
Yeah, so there's, I believe, I'll have to look at my drainage plan, so. That I recognize with that. That may be a leader that got left over from some of the work we're doing on the stormwater facility.
is right over the water main.
We are there, so there's an existing 30-inch concrete survey line that's 0.2, and that's gonna be realigned in order to match the new streets. So if you were to take a look, how would be best do that here in just a second. But if you were to look at on sheet 303, then you'll see a brand new 30-inch survey line that's running parallel. It's running across from the end where that 30-inch pipe makes that angle today, and brings it on down and ties it back into the stormwater facility at the same point as the other one did. So that's what that's about.
And if I understand correctly from your previous answer, all of the stormwater will be drained to the water treatment facility before it then outlets.
Yes, yeah,
Is that right?
that's correct. That water quality facility's been sized in order to provide in accordance with your current stormwater standards, stormwater retention and control, so that it's not exceeding the pre-developed conditions for this project or the other two phases of the subdivision for pre and post storm events.
General question, does open space mean that it is open to the public like the rest of the city? Or only to that development?
That's a good question. So it can be either one. And when it's dedicated to the public as a whole, then there can be certain density bonuses that can be provided and further. So we'll have to get feedback from city staff and, do they want to own title to it and keep it open to the public, in whole or in part, and what would that be? So early feedback was, a trail is preferable that would be open. It's not a private trail, not a private sidewalk. Those are the expectations. The same thing with the picnics, but that's where I think we're going. But we would then have that in our detailed plan proposal with proposed conditions of approval that will say it is to be owned by the city under these terms or not, and that would be part of the decision for that one.
Okay, so the definition of open space is still to be determined. Okay.
But the code allows either or.
One more question.
Yes, excuse my ignorance, but I know in the past, years ago, this property flooded badly. Now, has that been remediated by this area here, that the storm, in the open space?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I know exactly what is meant when people say flooded badly, because this area, that since we've been involved in this project since 2015, we've monitored the stormwater facility that's been built there, and there's not been any flooding, and that includes the fact that the water from Quail Run, which didn't used to come this way, but when the city decided to take that old stormwater pump station offline and let the water go, that comes through here too. So I don't believe that there's been any, since we've been involved with that, there's been any complaints or any issues that have surfaced relative to stormwater flooding
Okay,
on this side or downstream.
my knowledge comes back probably around 2005, 2006. So
This pond didn't exist.
it didn't exist then.
Yeah, so it's been built, this pond got built in 2009, I believe, is when it
Okay.
actually got built.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions, thank you very much for your presentation. Devils is in the details, and when you provide almost a build plan for a conceptual plan, a lot of questions come out.
Okay.
Thank you, great. All right, it's time for questions and testimony from the public. Anyone? Yes, sir. You need to come to the mic. I'll need your name and your address, please.
My name is Adam Kaiser, last name spelled Kiser, 2083 Quail Run Avenue. 4 doors down from the end of the road there. Some of my questions may be kind of moot points for this. but like the wildlife impact for that area, what's gonna happen to, like, the property values are obviously gonna change, which inherent change tax rates for everybody. What's gonna happen for people that are on like fixed incomes that are kind of like right on that borderline? Now that's gonna increase in the long run. Are they gonna be able to have that ability to stay in these homes? Because, I mean, that's what, 22 houses, 22 lots, I think it was. It's not much, but it's still gonna raise, I work for an excavation company, so I know what's gonna happen when 20 houses go in. Those values are gonna go up, which is kind of, if you don't plan on moving, is useless. It just makes more money out of your own pocket.
Right.
So those are kind of my bigger concerns.
Appreciate your input. Now, we're here as a planning commission to look at whether the land use is approvable. That's our part. Other comments would be able to be taken to city council via concerns or appeals of decisions that are made here at this council with regards to the application for conceptual plan.
Was that the previous meeting?
No, that would be city council. This is the planning commission.
Oh, okay.
So we look at a very specific.
I'm doing all this stuff, so I'm just trying to.
That's okay. Just trying to.
I just saw it come up and I'm like, I missed the last one.
Okay, you're
So,
good.
okay.
Thank you very much. Any other input from the public? Is there an applicant summary, or did you give us everything we need to know?
Yeah, I think so. So, that, from our position, we've got all the evidence in the record. So applicant isn't requesting any more time. We'd ask for the hearing to be closed and the record to be closed. And ask for your approval. As I indicated, we know we need to file, this doesn't give us anything other than the right to make one more land use application for that detailed design review. So I don't anticipate a need for conditions of approval, or any modifications to our proposal. So we're happy to close that, and just appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Staff summary.
Yes. One of the things I wanted to mention that the applicant is here, the 120 days is up in October 3rd. So we're hoping that they could at least extend it another month. I think that since city staff just received the information today, I think the applicant had good narrative and good plans. I think as a staff member, I mean, I haven't looked through it all, but I'd say that they have answered our concerns. But I think that we still need to be able to go over it and to write up findings of fact in a draft ordinance order for the planning commission to vote on. So I would think that there would be a continuance until next month, just so we could review the documents and provide our feedback from staff.
So, that said, I would have,
Yeah.
Chair, having sat here and just picked this up today, it would take, it should be reviewed, I believe, by staff in detail, make sure that everything's in line, and work with the applicant to make sure everything's ready to go. So that when it comes back to the commission, we have a complete package for stuff that comes back around that we didn't see or that they didn't see when they made the presentation tonight.
So I do have a form if you're comfortable with that, to just continue it for another month.
We had a chance to talk, so just again for the record, we don't want, the city's in charge of the doc. So if the city would like to go ahead and, keep the record open, continue the hearing, that's fine, that's understandable. We don't, October is a good ways away. That should allow enough time to bring this back in front of planning commission. We don't need, we as the applicant team don't think that we need to offer an extension to the 120-day rule. I understand that could potentially be an issue for the city in the event that there were local appeals. But that, we're not in a position where we can volunteer volunteer more time, but,
So I think
I
your
just want,
statement was that you have 120, but the commission meets again in September.
it's 29th.
Yeah. we meet
And
in
this is up the 3rd of October, so I'm just concerned that if there were an issue, that would include the appeal period, so we just like to have a little more time. I mean, not that we wouldn't bring it before the September meeting, but, yeah. It's up to you.
if you want to give me, a minute or two to confer, but that is my understanding, of what we discussed. And, so if it's always a challenge. I also am a city attorney, in another jurisdiction. I understand when you only meet once, it can make it difficult. We did give 130-day extension already. Last month when we asked for the continuance. So does your math include
Oh,
that?
no,
So,
it doesn't.
okay, so it doesn't. So I think,
Okay.
we don't,
okay,
when we asked for the continuance last month, that for 30 days, that extended the 120-day period 30 days. So
that's fine.
we're now, I think we're now on the
Okay.
same page why the disconnect there. So we're not giving any more extensions, but that roughly speaking puts the 120-day deadline for all local appeals into
Early November.
early
Yeah.
November, which I don't anticipate any appeals, and I think we're fine.
So I would recommend we leave the hearing. We don't even have to, we can leave it over. We need to make a decision.
I think you probably want to
Go ahead.
leave it open and have a date, so
Right.
September 29th.
Yes. So I would accept a motion to keep the hearing open and review this, have the application back here for conceptual plan at the September 29th planning commission, allowing the staff to receive time to review what's been put in. So, anybody want to make a motion in that case?
Say those exactly. Anybody else want to say those exactly?
Can I just say so moved?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Done with that part. And so, yeah. But I will say, good complete application. All the information that was very informative. I think I'll all understand. Thank you. All right, so we have a second hearing tonight. And I have to go through the same process of reading everything that I've read before and put this hearing online. Is Ross online?
He is.
Very good.
Should we see?
Yeah, I'm here if everyone can hear me.
We
Very good.
can.
All right.
We can.
So good evening. My name is Larry McKinley. I'm the chairperson for the Stayton Planning Commission, and I will be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the public hearing in the matter of land use file number 2-03/25, an application for a preliminary partition plan to divide 650 High Street, a 0.6 acre property in the medium density residential zone into 3 lots. This hearing is now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under ORS 197.797 is printed and available at the back counter. If anyone has any questions regarding anything on the statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes to your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which people will be called on to speak during the public hearing. The Planning Commission's rules of procedure for land use public hearings and to hand out written to facilitate your participation in the public hearing. You're encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would like to ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was sent in this case. Hearing none, to the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case. Hearing none, are there any declarations of conflict of interest, ex parte contact, or bias by any members of this body? Hearing none, we're now ready for the staff introduction report.
This is an application before you for a preliminary partition The address is 650 West High Street. It is a 0.68 acre parcel that will be divided into 3 lots. Some of you will probably remember last year there was another partition for a similar property that divided the property into 3 parcels, and this is one parcel that is now being divided into, or requested into 3. So the first lot has 14,374 square feet, and it has a single-family home on the lot. And this partition will create another lot that's about 7,000 square feet with 72 feet of frontage. It will be vacant, and there'll be a third lot that is about 8,033 feet with 150 feet of frontage. That's combined with High Street and North Evergreen. Water, sewer, and other services are available to these lots. There is a 10-foot public utility easement that was requested in the last partition, so it's there already. There is a sidewalk on Evergreen Avenue that will need to be replaced and developed, and that's in the conditions that the staff wrote for order of approval. And High Street usually is required to be improved as well, but like at our last hearing for the partition, the applicant signed a non-remonstrative agreement for that property, for that street already, so that is still in place. I did mention that the house, I believe from the plans, is 18 feet back, and there's a requirement that it be 20 feet back, but I consider that to be a non-conforming frontage, and this partition is not going to make additional non-conforming lots or uses. So staff is good with that. That's all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So, applicant presentation?
I think Ross was going to speak.
Yeah, I'll just give you guys a quickly reiterate what Jennifer said. She provided that information pretty succinctly, but yeah, for the record, my name is Ross Boxler. Address is 41203 Kingston Lines Drive, Southeast, Stayton. I'm the applicant for the High Street partition. Again, this is to complete an infill partition at 650 West High into 3 parcels, one with the existing home and 2 other vacant lots, which are all medium density. All utilities and services are available nearby. Lot sizes and dimensions are meeting city code or would meet city code. Since the city staff is recommending approval, I'm in agreement with that and the staff report, and I would ask that the commission approve the draft order and the partition. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Steve Baldwin, I have a question. Why are you leaving one lot at 14,000 square feet?
The reason has to do with the county and the state codes for how many lots you can partition in one calendar year. We anticipate or plan to further partition that 14,000 square foot lot in the 2026 calendar year, forming an additional approximately 7,000 square foot or 2 7,000 square foot lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just have a quick question, just to clarify for me, please. Is this the same thing the same area? Okay, okay, thank you.
Other questions? Are there any public to make testimony? No public? Applicant summary?
Nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. All right, staff summary?
I just wanted to mention that we did put out public notices to the butters as were required, and I didn't get any responses and from any comments from the public. And we did get information from the transportation engineer and our public works, and they were fine with the findings and the conditions.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing. So it's time for commission deliberation. I will just add that Amy and I don't think you were here yet, Peter, we discussed this.
Actually,
Okay, so the three of us were part of the previous breaking out of the lots, and they've since upgraded the home, the rental that was on the corner. All of the details of the development were pretty much addressed, other than the partition in the previous application approved. So really, all we're looking at today is partition, whether we want to approve partition of those additional three lots, I guess, but in that, absolutely. So,
And so that, this fits into the timeline of what we previously approved. This was what we
this is
were
in addition to what we previously.
in addition.
Yeah, it's partitioning the back lot, the large on the back side that was on High Street. Any other discussion? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move that the commission approve the preliminary plan as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
I'm sorry, I think you want to approve the draft order as
Draft
presented.
order.
Oh.
Draft order is presented.
Move that we approve the draft order as presented.
Second it.
All in favor?
I
Okay, it carries. Thank you. All right, that is the discussion for tonight. It's the end of our business. Thank you for everyone for attending. I'm going to close planning commission. All right,
I need to remember.
thank you. Thank you. You bet. That was pretty simple. And then for the commission, there's a larger discussion that we're going to have coming up in the future here. There is a parcel of property up on Gulf Lane, which is the one that parallels the highway, that previously Hillier Ford wanted to develop a new dealership, and then they backed out of it. So it's not currently within the urban growth boundary. So it would have to be annexed into the urban growth boundary, which that would be a discussion. We can recommend approval, but it's up to the city council to bring that into the urban growth boundary. But that was coming up in the future here. They want to put about 100 home, 110 home development. Is it 100 homes? Right there on the
They
freeway?
made it smaller, 74.
74 homes now. All right. So anyway, that's a chunk of property that borders the middle school property that runs the cross country course up there.
Thank you. I have to take off, I have to go back.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
See you later.
This to go Highway 22.
Yeah.
And even this to go